So a lot of us perform tasks in a linear range of motion. We sit, we stand, we squat, run, and jump. That's all pretty much forward and backwards, but we miss that rotational aspect of the hips. So the hips can lose that external, internal rotation. A lot of people are very limited into flexion and internal rotation, especially if you're not using that range of motion. So one of the goals of the hip 90-90 is to gain access to more of that range of motion through the hip and internal rotation specifically. The one thing for a lot of people, if it is pinchy or blocky, you do want to veer away from that side to start out with and see if you can eventually start creeping back into that range that's going to be taller and more rotated. So to get into this hip more, we want to get tall and rotate into that side. When we start to work the other hip, we're going to be a little bit more forward, but actually I'll pull that in so I can really focus on this hip. I'm not having to worry about this one. So this one's pulled in, and another thing I like to do is put my arms up on something, so a couch or a bench. For me, it helps me leverage more of that PAILs, that isometric contraction where we go to push down. So we'll spend some time in the passive stretch to get that hip used to the stretch. Then this contraction, as we're leveraging the inside of the ankle, the back inside of the heel, underside of the heel, the underside of the forefoot, so that ball right where that big toe is, we're pushing all of that down into the floor. We want to ramp up that tension, so build it up, 10%, 20%, get up to 50, 60, wherever you want that to be, your greatest, safest effort, depending on the time that you're utilizing this. So we're pushing down for about 10 seconds, and then we're going to go into the rails. And that rails, we're keeping the knee pinned down, and we're trying to pull up. So the first contraction is down, that's about 10 seconds. Second contraction is going to be up, so we're trying to pull, and it's isometric, so you don't necessarily have to be lifting off. Now you can do a lift off where that back heel is lifting up, or you can, and if you can't get that heel up, you can lean more away from that side, so not as tall, not as rotated. If you go less rotated and lean, you'll definitely be able to get a lift off. So you can do a few lift offs, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You can go in, out. You can do a full 10-second hold, or you can just try to do the rails where you're trying to pull. You just got to watch cramping, especially in that TFL where you'll feel that. And then we'll go ahead and increase that stretch by about 10 to 15 degrees. So we're going a little bit taller and a little bit more rotated. So you could start out away and you can get a little taller, and that could be your 10 degree, or you can start tall and then start creeping over into that side, and that could be your 10 to 15 degrees. So just don't crank into the stretch. We want to build it, we want to give it some stimulus, that hip capsule, and then we want to slowly start progressing our way into that side. So the PAILs is 10 seconds down, the rails, the regressive, the shortened tissue we're trying to focus on is 10 seconds up, and then about 10 to 15 degrees. So think 10, 10, 10, and then 10. And then we can gain access to a new required range of motion safely and comfortably. And then once we're there and we find that full end range of tension, just spend some time there. To come out of it, you could always work a transition. You can bring that up and through and just kind of go back and forth between a few of these internal to external rotations. Some hovers, you could go into hip cars, really get full active control over that range of motion you just acquired. There's a lot of cool things you can do from here, but the hip 90-90 focusing on the internal rotation will really help you get out of a lot of hip impingement, FAI type situations. So give that a try. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll check you on the next one.